Hi, I'm Megan, a licensed New York City tour guide, and I'm here to tell you what it's like to live in Harlem. A lot of tour guests ask me, what is it like living in Harlem? Is it safe living in Harlem? And I thought that the best way to answer this question would be to just take you on a walk around my neighborhood. And before I take you on a walk around my neighborhood, I do want to mention that Harlem is huge. Over 190,000 people live in Harlem. It extends nearly 60 blocks in length, and it is the largest neighborhood in the borough of Manhattan. So when you're exploring Harlem, there's actually little neighborhoods inside of Harlem. So where I live is really at the intersection of Hamilton Heights and Central Harlem. And I'm going to show you some of my favorite spots in this neighborhood. Starting right here, we have the Hamilton Grange. Alexander Hamilton actually lived in Harlem, and this is the actual house where he lived. This house is actually part of the National Park Service, and you can go inside and explore the house during its operating hours. The Hamilton Grange is thought to be the only house that Alexander Hamilton ever owned. Now, it's moved a couple of times. This is not the original location, but it's within a couple hundred feet of the original location. So this neighborhood of Hamilton Heights gets its name because this is where Alexander Hamilton lived. And the Grange is in the middle of this beautiful park. In the summertime, there are all of these wonderful tulips and flowers in the park, and it's really just a great park to walk around and get some nature. Fun fact, these rocks that you see, they are the bedrock of all of Manhattan, and they are called schist. Manhattan is built on a giant pile of schist. So you can have as much fun with that as you want. From this beautiful park, you'll also see these glorious neo-Gothic buildings up at the top of this hill. This is City College of New York. It has enrollment of more than 16,000 students. It covers 37 acres, and it is just gorgeous to look at. So it just adds to the beauty of the park. One of the best parts about living in this neighborhood of Harlem is Manhattanville Coffee, which is an artisanal coffee shop. Right here I have a maple spice latte in my hands. It's warm and delicious, and it smells like mapley goodness. They also have amazing pastries in there, and everything is locally made. So you're getting a true New York City experience. Now, because I am not cruel, this one is for my trusty cameraman. Enjoy! One of the things that I love the best about living in Harlem is all over the neighborhood, there are these little secrets and clues into Harlem's rich and diverse history. And one of these clues is right here, which is this really interesting looking purple sculpture. And it's right in the middle of Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, which is this major thoroughfare here in Harlem. So this sculpture is known as the Tree of Hope 3. And it gets its name because there used to be a tree here called the Tree of Hope. When that tree was here, this street was lined with jazz clubs, and musicians and performers such as Bill Bojangles Robinson would come right here to the spot, and they would rub the tree, which they believed would give them good luck in their performances. Now, when they expanded this boulevard, they ended up cutting down the tree, and performers were devastated. They actually came and planted another tree here. That tree ended up getting cut down as well. So in that tree's place, they have put up this sculpture, which is supposed to represent an abstract version of the Tree of Hope. And because it's the third tree that stood here, it is called the Tree of Hope 3. Now, if you've heard of the Tree of Hope before, it might be because you have visited the Apollo Theater, which is further downtown. Now, the Apollo Theater, it's a theater that gave birth to the careers of everybody from Ella Fitzgerald to Michael Jackson. And when the original Tree of Hope was cut down, they actually took the trunk of that tree and they put it backstage at the Apollo. And to this day, performers at the Apollo Theater rub the trunk of that tree for good luck. So the tradition has endured. And that's one of my favorite things about living here in Harlem. When people think of Harlem, I wish that they would think of people like Cab Calloway and Aretha Franklin. Harlem has so much diversity and so much culture. There are over 400 different houses of worship in Harlem. And then to show you how diverse it is, you also have things such as La Femme Suite, which is a pole fitness studio. And they have all kinds of fun events there. If you're looking for a bachelorette party, they have events where they give you fruit and champagne and a beginning pole dance lesson. So who would have thought walking around Harlem that you would see all of this really cool stuff? Another wonderful thing about living in Harlem is all of the great shopping. And we actually have a lot of really interesting bookstores, including this one called Revolution Books. And yes, all of the books are dedicated to different revolutions, whether or not it's a political revolution or an emotional revolution. I love that this bookstore exists. Let's see if we can get a close-up on just the window and all of the titles that we have. So we have The Dead Are Arising, The Life of Malcolm X. We have The Half Has Never Been Told, Slavery and the Making of American Capitalism. And then we have Bill Nye's Great Big World of Science in the back. So this is a great bookstore, really for people of all ages, and it's right here in my neighborhood of Harlem. It's one of the reasons I love living here. I really wanted to take you guys into this shop, which is the Harlem Chocolate Factory. It is 100% Black owned, it's woman owned. They make the best chocolate chip cookies. They're so good. They make these chocolate truffles. All of the flavors are inspired by Harlem. However, this is the day before Valentine's Day, so the line is really long and we have a tight filming schedule. So we're gonna keep going, but make sure you come back, and we're hoping in the future to do a video just on the Harlem Chocolate Factory because it's that delicious. Let's go. If you are wondering how hard it is to get to Harlem, or if you would like to live to Harlem and maybe commute into Midtown, this is one of the coolest parts about living in Harlem is how many subway trains come to Harlem. So right here, this is the 2 and the 3 train that goes downtown. You will be in Times Square in less than 20 minutes, probably closer to 15. We also have the A, the B, the C, the D, and the 1 train that come here. So it's really wonderful wherever in the 5 boroughs you want to access. So it's a great, easily accessible neighborhood. This is something that you don't see a lot in New York City. This is kind of this alleyway, and you'll see what looks like garages. They actually used to be carriage houses. On either side of this alley are streets known as Strivers Row, where you will see some of the most glorious architecture in all of Harlem. Let's go check out Strivers Row. We are here on Strivers Row. This is home to some of the most gorgeous architecture in all of Harlem, if not New York City. Famous residents of Strivers Row include U.B. Blake, who wrote Shuffle Along, which was the very first Broadway musical written and directed by African Americans. W.C. Handy, who's known as the father of the blues, lived here. Adam Clayton Powell, who was a civil rights activist, lived here. And Bill Bojangles Robinson, also known as Mr. Bojangles, at one point in time called Strivers Row his home. So when people ask me, is Harlem safe? What is it like to live in Harlem? This is what I hope they think of. We have this glorious architecture. We have really rich history. We have wonderful shops like Hats by Bun, the Harlem Chocolate Factory, Manhattanville Coffee. This is a wonderful place to live, and it's a wonderful place to visit. And I really look forward to making more specialized videos about Harlem to help you discover all of its wonder. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you consider visiting Harlem sometime in the near future. And in the meantime, thank you for experiencing the Big Apple.